Hey, this is going to be the review for the new show, WWE Superstars, first episode. It's for the 16th of April, and I thought this was a bad show, I'd say, a boring show, bleak, sort of, just uninteresting, really. I mean, I was expecting more. They should have just put Rey Mysterio on it, or Evan Bourne. They would just liven things up, but no, it just didn't really work. Plus, the concept doesn't make sense right now, because, oh, people are wrestling each other from different brands. We see that all the time right now. I mean, just constantly. The main event on SmackDown is going to be Ted DiBiase versus Batista. They're both Raw people. I mean, everyone is just wrestling on every brand right now. Last week we had Kofi Kingston versus The Big Show. So, yeah, I just feel this is the wrong time. 3 months' time they should do this, but, this was just the wrong time. Plus, the matches were not good. We had 2 matches which didn't have definitive outcomes. We had a count out and a disqualification, and we also had Undertaker, Matt Hardy, Finlay, Cody Rhodes, and Shane McMahon. Those guys got about 15 moves between them. Christian's probably got the same amount of moves as all those guys put together. I mean, yeah, it's just not going to work. The show starts with the Undertaker's music, and Todd Grisham takes the words out of my mouth when he describes how fitting it is that the Undertaker should start the show. And it is, because he's been a loyal servant of the company, and a show's never really been based around the Undertaker before. Not that I'm saying this is, but he's the first guy out. He's always had to play second fiddle to Austin or Bret Hart or Hogan, or nowadays he plays about 8th, 9th fiddle. But but the disadvantage, of course, having the Undertaker start is that it takes him about 4 minutes to reach the ring of our 1 hour of viewing time. Then we have Matt Hardy. He's fighting Matt Hardy, and this was a really boring match. The thing I thought was, wow, this is like a trip back in time. This looks like the Undertaker wrestling in 1990, because there was a bit where he was just choking his opponent in the corner, and then he just intimidating the referee, and I was like, wow, this is actually Undertaker from the early 90s. Lots of Undertaker stuff. Leg drop, snake eyes, big boot. We've seen it all before. Clothesline. Old school. Hate old school. Stupid name. Makes no sense with this gimmick. Then we have a bit of Matt Hardy, a bit of a Matt Hardy comeback. Hits a neck breaker. Starts working on the neck. I felt it was odd that they put Matt Hardy in this match, because it's just going to kill his momentum. He's got quite a lot of momentum recently, and yeah, this is not going to help it. He obviously has to lose the match. Albeit they get a slight way around that. But yeah, I don't really care. Matt Hardy shouldn't have momentum in my view. Anyway, it ends. Matt Hardy gets frustrated and gets count out. So the first match on this new show ends in a count out. What just a bizarre booking decision. Then we have Jeff Hardy come out, run out, attack Matt. Matt runs for cover back into the ring. The Undertaker chokeslams him, and that's that. That was just boring match, and then terrible finish. Just forget about it. Then we had Christian versus Finlay, which is the final of the ECW Elimination Chase to Backlash. We now have the ECW commentators. Are they going to have the 3 sets of commentators every week? That seems excessive to me, but fair enough. We had Christian, of course. For those of you who don't know, I'm a huge Christian fan. Christian, of course, is miles ahead of Finlay. But they do a bit of mat wrestling. Christian, of course, is going to win this match, so he makes Finlay look good. Finlay out-mat wrestles him. Finlay does that great move, which he just never does, even though it's the best move he does. It's a inverted DDT into a backbreaker, so it just like snaps it onto the back. The only person who does a better backbreaker is Shelton Benjamin, that cool like whip thing. Usually backbreakers are rubbish. Usually they're like the things Vladimir Kozlov does, that barely even hit the knee and stuff like that. But yeah, really good backbreaker. Christian does a tornado DDT. It does some cool stuff. Tornado DDT. I always feel that tornado DDT is no sold, quite a lot, because it's just such a good move. They should just bring it out on special occasions, if you will. Christian gets thrown into the ring post at the end of the match. He's constantly having to sell some sort of arm injury in WWE, to the extent where I actually kind of believe he has one. And Finlay gets him up in the kettle cross position. Christian reverses it into the kill switch, and that's the end of it. I prefer the name Unprettier, but you know, personal taste. At the end, they shake hands and hug, and I was actually expecting Finlay to turn on him here. He's been, you know, he's been a bit of a heel recently. He's doing he always does sort of heelish things, and he was on the heel tag team in that Money in the Bank match, and you know, stuff like that. I thought he'd turn, but he didn't. Now we have Michael Cole and Jerry the King Lawler talking about the Randy Orton Triple H feud. Jerry the King Lawler says, "I don't know where it's going to end. Just tell me when it's going to end, and I'll be happy." Then we have a little interview with Shane McMahon done by Eve Torres, who talks about he must be disappointed he's not facing Orton on Raw, and he says yeah he is, but he hopes Triple H gets the job done, and then he says that he's going to get his revenge tonight on Rhodes and DiBiase, because without Rhodes and DiBiase, Orton wouldn't be able to have done any of the stuff he did. Not really true, but sure. Then we had Cody Rhodes versus Shane McMahon. DiBiase, Orton, Triple H and Batista have been banned from ringside. Big stars didn't want to show up, apparently. So, yeah, so we've already got a sort of Sunday Night Heat feeling about this show. But I'm glad at the format so far. All wrestling, you know. I hope the big stars do show up, though. The Undertaker showed up for this one, you know. Is someone that big going to show up next week? Who knows? Once again, like a trip back in time, this. Cody Rhodes doesn't really have any moves. He did a scoop slam. He did a second rope bulldog. That was about the best thing he did. There's just lots and lots of wearing Shane McMahon down and rest holds, and you know, going outside the ring and throwing them against the barricades and clotheslining people against the barricades. Lots of clotheslines, and you know, just non-moves basically. It was like late 80s, early 90s wrestling, which was fine in the late 80s, early 90s, and I really enjoyed it back then. Well, I wasn't alive back then. I really enjoyed watching it, but things have moved on. People kind of expect more now, and we didn't really get that. There was also Shane McMahon went for a double axe handle, and from the second rope, and Cody Rhodes hit a rubbish drop kick that hit him in the solar plexus apparently. But yeah, just not very good. Cody Rhodes tried to use his chair, and the referee admonished him, and I was like, Cody, right, if you want to use a chair, just go and do it. The ref's definitely going to shout at you when you bring a chair into the ring, okay? You know? What a terrible heel you are. End of the match basically comes when Shane McMahon hits Cody Rhodes with a chair. Cody Rhodes had been in control, so at least he doesn't look terrible by jobbing to Shane McMahon, but yeah. Anyway, Shane hits him with a chair. That's the end of the match. Cody Rhodes wins by disqualification. So we start with a count out, we end with a disqualification. In many ways, we should really have ended with Undertaker, Matt Hardy, and started with Shane McMahon, Cody Rhodes. I don't see how this is the main event in any way. But yeah, after the match, Shane does coast to coast with a trash can, and when he was going up, he really didn't look like he had any spring in his step, and you just knew he wasn't going to make it. And he doesn't really make it there. He just sort of like lands on his back and then kicks the trash can. And that's it. But yeah, so that was a poorly booked match, but it was well booked in terms of the feud coming later, because the feud at Backlash, because they talked about how if Shane McMahon was to let his temper get the better of him and get disqualified, Triple H would no longer be champion and Randy Orton would be champion at Backlash. So yeah, good booking for the feud, bad booking for the match, and yeah, so that's kind of what I feel about this show right now, actually. Everything's booked with the pay-per-view in mind. Nothing's booked just for this. This is not really a special thing, and it might end up being another Sunday Night Heat, which would be okay. At least, you know, get to see some wrestling. But yeah, fairly boring show, and yeah, that's all I've got to say. Feel free to comment on this video, to rate this video, to ask questions. Your views are important to us, and to subscribe if you wish. And that's me. I'll be doing some supplemental draft thoughts later. Okay, bye.